in randomized controlled trials of pain, a narcotic or an NSAID versus a placebo, you're going to get a placebo effect. It's always going to be less than the real drug if it's a real good drug. Otherwise, it wouldn't be on the market as a real drug. Nonetheless, those effects can be big. Another study that we did with irritable bowel patients, also a much larger study, we actually tried to see if we could increase the components, incrementally increase the components of the placebo effect. Make one placebo and then a bigger placebo and then a bigger placebo, like a dose-dependent study. And see if we could really make a big placebo and then a middle placebo. And this is a way of actually testing if it's real, if you can get a dose-dependent relationship. So we did irritable bowel syndrome as the patients in the study. It was a large study, but 262 patients. And one group had no treatment, just to see maybe, people get better all the time. If you don't go to a doctor, you get better too. That's not a placebo effect, right? That's just waxing and waning disease. So we had a group that nothing was done, so we could see people get better all the time just by staying home. Yeah, exactly. And then we gave the second group, we gave them placebos, but no doctor-patient relationship. We gave them placebo acupuncture, actually, and with a needle that went up the shaft instead of down the shaft, off the needle points. And the acupuncturist told the patient, this is a study of acupuncture. We can't, I've been told not to talk to you for the rest of the study because then I would influence the effect we have. And if you have any questions, talk to the study doctor, study nurse, or the coordinator. And it was just a ritual of giving needles, okay? The third arm was, they had the same intake, they had the same fake acupuncture, but then they had what we called an augmented relationship. They had attentive listening, repeating, the acupuncturist, first of all, the acupuncturist said, so tell me what's wrong, tell me what's going on here, and the acupuncturist, and did a brief medical history, a brief psychosocial history. They touched the patient on the pulse or the abdomen. They expressed empathy, they expressed confidence. They said, I'm so excited to be in a study of acupuncture because I treat people with irritable bowel outside the hospital, and I want to show the medical community it works, right? And I think I mentioned it already. They did 20 seconds of thoughtful silence. Let me think about this. I understand everything. I just want to make sure I understand it. And really very thick doctor-patient relationship with the fake treatment. So you had three different kind of components. Just no treatment with a lot of the questions. We had the intake questions with fake treatment, intake questions, fake treatment, and a real heavy doctor-patient relationship. And we got this incredible dose-dependent line. And the augmented placebo was as big as any drug that's ever been tested for irritable bowel in history, and without the side effects of those major drugs like elacestrant and tegaserod. So sometimes you get these big effects, especially in studies I do, because I really want to make big effects because I want to study them, right? I can tell you another study of size effects that was interesting. This was a study we published in the New England Journal in 2011, last summer. And we took people off their medications, a small number of people, but we brought them back 10, 12 times. So what we did was take them off their asthma medication, so they had a little bit of asthma, right? And we brought them back 12 times. We did this 12 times. And 4 of the times, 3 of the times, we gave them albuterol, a regular inhalator that works to get rid of asthma, right? It's a bronchial dilator. 3 of the times, in random order, we gave them fake albuterol, but there's nothing in it, right? So it's a fake inhalator. 3 of the times we gave them fake acupuncture. Acupuncture that really wasn't it didn't penetrate it, didn't go near the points. And 3 of the times, each patient was brought back 12 times. And 3 of the times they just sat there for 2.5 hours as a no treatment control because people's asthma does get better. And what happened was that there were 2 measures that we used. One, FEE1, how much air is in the lungs. It's measured as an objective measure in 1 second, how much is pushed out. And we got 20% improvement with the real drug, 7% improvement with the fake drug inhalator, 7% improvement with the fake acupuncture, and 7% improvement just sitting there. There was no placebo effect. Zero. So I remember the asthma doctor said to me, Ted, this is terrible. We worked so hard and nothing happened. This is like, what a disaster. And I said to our statistician, John, pull out the numbers on the other number. I think something may have happened. But, so we got, for these subjective outcomes, the patient-centered outcomes, how much improvement do you feel? How much less distress do you have? What level of improvement do you get? With the real drug, 50% improvement. With the fake drug, 50% improvement. With the fake acupuncture, 50% improvement. And with the no treatment, 20%. The fake ritual, the ritual treatment, was as good as a drug on subjective outcomes. And that suggests that, as I said earlier, that the punch of the placebo is going to be in subjective improvements, patient-centered improvements. But it also says the level of placebo effects on some measures is as big as the real drug in a real important illness. So in fact, you can get big effects, especially in my business, which is to study them. I want to get big effects so I can measure and then chop them up and do all kinds of secondary analyses. But obviously, there's not going to be a placebo. You're not going to lower people's cholesterol with a sugar pill. You may get them to do more exercise or be less tired, and that might cascade into something. But there's a limit probably to what placebos can do in terms of a person's sick. Advertising may be about placebo effects. But I'm not an expert in this thing. But I do want to just say to you that I talk about subjective symptoms of self-appraisal, but there's an objective biology that shows that those changes in perceptions are not just patients saying, I feel better. They actually correlate to changes in neurotransmitters and the neurocircuitry in the brain that of relevant parts of the brain, meaning that when we give fake needles to subjects and neuroimage their brain, we see that the certain areas of the brain that modulate emotions and modulate the relation of cognition and sensation are activated, actually uniquely activated when a person feels better with a placebo. And we do know, for example, that different kinds of neurotransmitters are involved. We know that for a while now, endorphins are related to certain kinds of pain relief, pain analgesia, and we do know from recently, we saw that another neurotransmitter, CB1 cannabinoids, is involved in other kinds of pain, relief of pain with placebos, and dopamine's probably involved, serotonin's involved. So there's a biology to our subjective feelings. It's not like this is all made up in your head. It's made up with chemicals and real neurotransmitters.
So there's a real physiological footprint of the placebo effect.
That's right. That's exactly. Thank you for saying it so nice. I think that it was actually good to be ignored. I was ignored for a long time. And I get a little funding from the NIH, and I publish a good study, and then I publish another decent study. And people started noticing that actually that my team and people I work with, we can do good science, studying things that people didn't think you could study with science, or even good social science. We did a lot of qualitative studies. So I think that the field has gained a little bit of credibility, especially with the basic science stuff. And I think it's still, I would say, compared to other disciplines in medicine like cardiology and oncology, is marginalized because we cut across. It's not like we're all over the place. But I think there's been deeper interest, and certainly the public is interested. And I think certain fields like psychiatry are desperately interested in understanding the placebo effect because they have trouble showing some of the drugs being superior to placebos. And that's true of a lot of central nervous system drugs. So I think it's part of the attempt to humanize healthcare.
It provides like this relevance of the social component when not just chemical.
Absolutely, and it's also the relevance of people's own participation in their own health on some level. There's something, the public likes it because it has an element of magic in it, right? You can actually go into a special space with another human being and you come out feeling different. We all know that. We've been, and I know lots of people that as soon as they touch the aspirin to their tongue, they get completely better, right? With a headache or something. So but I think there's a growing interest in it, especially since the National Institute of Health is really seemed to be willing to fund this stuff. I think there are lots of questions. What illnesses does placebo affect? We don't really know completely. How long does the effect last? What are the best ways of delivering it? Can it be done ethically, like our proof of principle study? And then there are really important questions around the neurobiology. We don't really understand how come a sugar pill, when you have a headache, is different, affects different neurotransmitters than when you have a stomach ache, or how a placebo. How does it work in the brain? We don't understand. We know that certain areas are activated. We don't have a complete picture. We don't know its neurobiology. And a big area that we need to know is, what do patients think about this? We need to interview patients. The public needs to weigh in on this. So there's lots to be done.